Deliberative dialogues are different from debate skills, and there's nothing wrong with debate. My kids are both in the debate club. But debate is very much of a right or wrong, yes, no. It's a confrontational discussion, if you will, okay? Deliberative dialogue is different. There's no winner or loser necessarily. It's more of a collaborative process where you're listening to other people, you're getting ideas from them. So we've got to kind of work on helping them figure out how to have these conversations about very difficult topics. Immigration, terrorism, the Middle East, okay? They've got to start having skills where they can talk and listen to each other. And that's really what the options role play is about, and it's also what the personal option, which comes at the end of the options role play, is all about, okay? But before we can get into deliberative dialogue and helping students with the options role play, I think it's important to help them take a step back and think about this. Why is it that we don't all agree on public policy or foreign policy? Why is it that if I asked all 25 of you, hey, what should we be doing about terrorism, you'd all have kind of a slightly different answer? Or you might have a really wildly different answer. So why is it that we don't all agree? And what our curriculum tries to help students understand is that values are what inform public policy. Values inform public policy.
The values activity is at the core of the Choices approach to teaching about contested international issues. It introduces the concept that values are what form the backbone of policy, and that the reason people differ on policy choices is because we all define and prioritize values differently. Identifying this is helpful as we try to understand the views of others and work together to find ways to form policy despite our seeming disagreement. In your classroom, give each student a complete set of values cards. Each student should now have in front of him or her a set of cards with the following values on them: freedom, diversity, equality, cooperation, security, justice, self-reliance, community, stability, and democracy. Call out 2 values and instruct students to put these 2 cards in order, with the one on top being the one they consider most important.
So what I want you to do is order them according to the value that you think is the most important to the least important, and do this individually.
Call out a 3rd value and have your students reorder their list. Keep going until you have called out all the values, and each student has their 10 values cards organized in order of priority to him or her. Now have your students discuss, either as a class or in groups.
Talk about why did you choose the one that you put on top? What was the basis for your decision? What did you rank as the least important value? Why did you choose that one? Where does your group agree? Where does your group disagree?
Ultimately, the goal of this activity is to have students understand that prioritizing and defining values differently leads to different policies. It also shows that we do tend to share some values or beliefs. Thus, beneath our disagreements on public policy choices, we can often find areas of common ground. Here are some ways that you can modify the values activity for your classroom. Add a blank card. Students can add in a value they don't see on the list. Allow the top 3 and bottom 3 values to be equal. Don't rank in a straight line. For younger students, spend some time defining the values as a group before you rank them. The activity will still work, but there is more value in suddenly realizing that not everyone defines security the same way. Ask students to think about these values in a specific time or context and see how values change. For example, how would the ranking be different if the date was September 10th, 2001 versus September 12th, 2001, or during the French Revolution? The values cards can also be used on their own. For example, during a presidential debate, a major policy speech, or a discussion about a local city or town issue. What values did the students hear? How did the speaker define security? How about freedom? Understanding how values affect policy will help students as they prepare for the options role play.
When you're doing the options role play, it's really important that students can pull out from the different options, what are the values that support each of these options? So when we do the options role play and you all are going to be, presenting the assigned option, you want to be able to say, this option really promotes these values, okay? Because again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, which is that values really are the backbone to different policies. And it's also really important when you have at the end of the unit, when students, after they've done the options role play, they've argued and advocated for the different options that you've assigned them. At the end of the unit, students have to come up with their own option. What do they think? They have to make a persuasive presentation based on their own values. And so they should be able to articulate, this is my option, and these are my beliefs and my values that support them.
For additional resources on how to use Choices materials and professional